In this episode of Inspire, it's time to get all of these guys out of this hole. As you can see, it's gone pretty poorly. Some of them have since passed, running low on oxygen. There's no food down here. It's kind of rough. And so it's time to turn our attention above ground. In the last episode, we put together the train station, of which there are two parts. We've got the passenger side and the cargo side, of course. And if you guys watched that episode, you'll know that on the passenger side, we are going to put some of the villagers in here behind the little ticket booth counter thing, whatever we want to call it. And I'm thinking those will be our librarians. As for the rest of them, we're putting them on the cargo side, and they're just going to be put underground again. But that's okay, because at least this underground section will look better and have walls and air vents and food. Allow me to show you. I've actually just got done digging out a little bit of the area, trying to get it planned out ahead of this episode so that we can jump right into actually putting everything together. Here on the cargo side, we've got this staircase that goes right down underground where, yes, we are underneath the terrain just a little bit, don't mind it. And over here, I've dug out a little bit of a plan for where we're going to start putting the rest of our villagers. You'll notice that I have a couple different hallways with a bunch of different slots in them. This is, standard villager trading hall kind of shenanigans that we have going on. But allow me to introduce what exactly this is going to look like. So as you come down the staircase, on the left, we are going to have an entire area dedicated to stonemasons. So this is any time that we might need polished andesite granite diorite, maybe some terracottas, anything like that. Bricks especially, we'll have a bunch of these guys over here to do a bunch of trades with 20 of them to be specific. On the opposite side, over here is where we're going to have all of our farmers, and the farmers are going to be the source of all of our emeralds. They are going to come from melons and pumpkins, and now either side over here, I've dug out at least the beginning of an area that will be one side melons, one side pumpkins, automated, and then all outputting to somewhere in the middle right here. We'll have an auto crafter for the melons to put them into the full melon blocks, and then the pumpkins, they'll just route directly into whatever storage we have. And the idea is that all of our farmers have both the melon and pumpkin trades at the same time, so that can be how we maximize our emerald output to do with trades and everything like that. Especially because chopping all of the trees for sticks isn't very fun, and we could do a bamboo setup, but I feel like we would just need a huge area to do that with. And with the melon pumpkin, we can kind of stack it all on top of one another, going all up and down here, and just use the farmers, and it feels like a pretty good way to do that. So we have our farmers on this hallway, we have our stonemasons over there, we've got our melons and pumpkins area on the end of the hallway in those big rooms, and over here we've got the rest of it. This is going to be a hall of 20 slots for the random whatever else I want to put in here group of villagers. So minus librarians, minus farmers, and minus stonemasons. We might have some cartographers, we might have some armorers, we might have some fishermen, some clerics, anything like that, whatever else we feel necessary. We've got 20 spaces over here to put whoever else in the hall on this side. And finally, these two rooms right here, these will be two different 9x9 wheat setups. So we'll have some farmer villagers stuck in these rooms just farming wheat all the time, and we'll have a collection system that picks up all of that wheat. I'm not doing any other carrots, potatoes, beetroot, anything like that, because the wheat is the only thing that we really need, and we can use it for a multitude of things, but most importantly, packing mud. Lots and lots of packed mud. So we've got two wheat setups there. We've got 3 different hallways for the villagers. We've got our melons and pumpkins for emeralds. This should work out pretty well for the bulk of our villager trading hall underneath the train station build. Now, if we come back down here to where we have all of our villagers, you'll notice that some of them have been zombified. They did get infiltrated just a little bit. I've had to close up that gap in the parking lot just a little bit. But you know what? This is fine, because I do intend to heal all of the villagers one time over, just to get a little bit of a better deal on everything. So we've already kind of got a start right here, and because they're in minecarts, they shouldn't despawn. At least if they do, I'll be pretty sad. And we just need to start gearing up on some of the potions and golden apples and everything like that. That'll be something that I kind of grind away at and take care of, probably not showing on the video just because it's a bit too grindy, but it is a plan, and we do already have a little bit of a start. The first thing I want to get done in this episode is to get these villagers moved underground or into their appropriate building over yonder, so that we can have them kind of all positioned and ready to go. So this villager trading hall is definitely the high priority. Once we do that, we can get to some of the fun stuff, including building a little bit more around the train station that we put together in the last episode. The easy part is done, and the easy part was actually building out the basement that we're going to put all the villagers in over here on the cargo side. So you guys saw a couple little clips of it, but I'll go ahead and give you the walkthrough as we approach down here into the basement, where we're going to have the bulk of our villager haul. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, we have some villagers that are actually going to be a part of the build upstairs and on the passenger side of the train station, but for the most part, this is just going to be a villager haul. So at best, I just made the block palette kind of match what we have going on with the train station above ground, and just kind of carried that down into the basement down here with the mud wall color, the granite brick terracotta floor color, and then the tough ceiling mixture that we have up here. Something that, you know, looks respectable, looks decent enough, but, you know, it's very clearly a villager hall, and that's the only thing it's doing. So at the end of the day, it's fine, it's underground, you're not really going to see it, but I did take at least the bare minimum liberties for making it fit in with the build as a whole. So our next step from here is actually going to be to do a little bit of some redstone. Down here at the end of this hallway, where I have not completed the wall, is, of course, our melon and pumpkin setup. At least it's where we will put those setups, and we're of course going to automate both sides so that we have effectively 3 floors of melon on one side, 3 floors of pumpkin on the other side. The melon side will have an auto crafter. We'll craft those into full melon blocks, and the idea is that this hallway right here will be our farmer hallway, and this is where we make our emeralds to do all of the trading that we ever want to do in this world via melons and pumpkins. We'll have these machines running at all times. They'll probably output somewhere into the middle of the wall right here, just in like a combined storage of both melons and pumpkins. I can walk in here, grab a bunch of them, do a bunch of trades with some villagers, whether I need golden carrots from them. We can get the emeralds from the melons and pumpkins. Maybe I need to go trade with the stonemasons. Maybe I need some books from the librarians, whatever it is. This is going to be our main source of emerald income right here. So before we can actually move all of the villagers in, or at least, I mean, I could, but before I will, I want to do this redstone contraption, or these 2 redstone contraptions right here behind the wall, so that we can build up the wall, finalize it, and most importantly, have both of these farms running while I do the really grindy, tedious bit of first curing all the villagers, zombifying them, all of that kind of stuff, and then moving them down into their final places down here. Not to mention, I don't have this many villagers yet, so I still have to let the villager breeder run for a little bit, and all of that's going to take quite a lot of time, quite a lot of just tedious sitting around waiting for things to happen. So if we can get these farms in place, they can start building up a really big backlog in the meantime, which I think would benefit us for, you know, having all the villagers in place and being able to do a bunch of trades right away to really get the ball rolling. So upstairs in my little prep area on the floor here, we've got a bunch of melon and pumpkin seeds. We've got a bunch of dirt to be placing down there for them to grow on, some bone meal, of course, and all of, at least I think, all of the redstone materials that we're going to be using. So the idea is each kind of module, if you will, is a 9x9 area, -1 for where we're going to have the water. That comes out to roughly 40 observers, 40 pistons, if I'm thinking of this correctly. And we're going to have 3 modules on either side. 3 things of melon, 3 floors of melon, 3 modules, whatever you want to call it, and 3 of pumpkin on the opposite side. And then I just tried to kind of ballpark what we would need in terms of minecart stuff, some extra redstone, the 1 crafter, some hoppers, all of that as well. So there's a chance I might need to go get more, but this should at least get a good chunk of it sorted and started so that we can get those modules in place. It has been a couple episodes since we've done some redstone in the middle of an episode, but I do want to do this together so you guys can kind of see how we're going to do all of this. And of course, if you remember from the earlier episodes, one of our goals in this world is to do all of our redstone without any tutorials. So we are going to try and figure this out as we go. Though, thankfully, in this episode's case, a melon pumpkin setup is one of the easiest things you can do. All right, so I've gone ahead and set up the 3 modules on each side, the melon and pumpkin side. I tried to get some of this basic stuff out of the way so that we can start to focus on the redstone without worrying about any of this. What I've got is the 3 layers of dirt, as you can see all the way down there. And I did dig out some extra room, so if in the future I decide that I want to put more modules on either side, if I'm not happy with the output rate or anything like that, there is enough room to put 1 more on either side. I think for now the 3 will be plenty, but we'll see. We at least have the option. We've got the dirt for all of the melons and pumpkins to be sitting on this layer right here. Just below it, we've got one block of air, and that's actually going to be where the minecart collection system rolls underneath where we have the dirt right here. So I've set this up with some dark oak slabs to just kind of support where the minecart rails are going to be, where the minecart goes, and then these little flare-outs on the back end right here. This would just be where the minecart hits the wall and then reverts back to the other direction, you know, when you do couple powered rails right there. And we have the same thing on the opposite side. That's going to be where the system dumps everything that it collects into to then make its way either on the melon side into the auto crafter and then to storage, or on the pumpkin side just into the storage, which will be accessible in this wall right here in the hallway, because once this is done, it's going to be fully closed off from the rest of the area, fully hidden in the walls. So I've done this on both sides. We've got all of these set up. I've also placed a water in here and a block of glowstone on each floor, which I think will provide enough light for these 9x9 areas to be all accounted for. I'm wondering if I want to put solid blocks around the base of it right here so any melons and pumpkins don't go flying off the side when they are broken by the pistons. Not sure exactly how we'll do it, but I wanted to get us set up enough that we could start to focus on the redstone here, and I can kind of show you guys how this is going to work. So for starters, there is about 6 or 7 layers in which we are using for each of these modules. Starting at the very top opening right up here, this is where we're going to have a bunch of different redstone dust. It's just going to be like a checkerboard of redstone dust, and air is effectively what that top layer is going to do. And that is going to work in conjunction with all of our observers and pistons, which sit on the next layer below. We're going to have the redstone dust being triggered from the observers that read when something grows. It's going to trigger the pistons, which are facing down, and those pistons are going to be going right into the melons or pumpkins and breaking them so that the minecart underneath can collect them from below. So that third area is where our melons or pumpkins grow. It's where the melon and pumpkin stems are. Of course, we have the dirt that they grow on for that fourth layer. The fifth one is the minecarts that are moving about. And that sixth one is the base for the minecart rails. So we're using dark oak slabs, and I'm going to mix in some redstone blocks to power any of the powered rails that we have throughout here. Haven't gotten to that part yet, but you will see that kind of come into play a little bit later on. And then another thing that I decided was to leave one block gap underneath where we have the minecart rails and subsequent redstone blocks, just so we'd have a full air block here before we get to the next set, which would be, of course, the redstone dust, all of the different modules, everything like that. So with that in mind, I just repeated that process a couple times over on each side to give us these 3 platforms that look identical on either side, one for melon, one for pumpkin. And now we can start placing some of the contraption. The first thing that we're going to want to do is figure out exactly where we want the seeds to be growing and where we want there to be areas for the melons and pumpkins to go to. And it's really just a checkerboard. I don't imagine that there's any right or wrong way to go about it, especially in an automated setup like this, where as soon as something grows, it's instantly collected. So it's not like we need to min-max the actual spaces across this 9x9 in such a manner that it is, you know, it can grow fully and have the most possible things on there. It's not really going to matter. We're just going to checkerboard the whole thing across, and that will kind of determine where our observers go and where our pistons go. So now that we have half of this whole thing tilled in this checkerboard pattern, this kind of lets us know where the observers are going and where the pistons are going. So the biggest thing is that we're going to do the pistons facing down, right above each of these non-tilled blocks, because this is where the melons or pumpkins can actually grow. We don't want the pistons above where the seeds are because they will break the seeds, and well, we'd have to come and manually replant them, but this is going to be how we collect them. So pistons on the checkerboard where it's not tilled, and it's going to be a little tedious to place because it is directional, but that leads us to the observers, of which go above the tilled blocks. The observers are going to be facing down on the seeds, and they're basically going to read when the seed grows something. The observer is going to send a pulse. That's going to go on to the redstone dust, which sits on each piston, and therefore powers the piston down, and the process repeats. Another one grows somewhere, powers the pistons. The pistons break the grown melon or pumpkin, and then the minecart collects it, and then it just continues from there. Very simple, very easy to do, and I'm going to go ahead and get this whole floor laid out so you can kind of see what it looks like. Okay, I was definitely wrong about where you place the redstone dust, but that's okay. It's an easy fix. It's not on the pistons, it's on the observers so that they can get powered and then power the pistons. I thought they had to be on the back of the pistons. I was wrong. That's okay. Same amount of redstone used, but we've got it all set up, and We even bone mealed a little bit of it over there so that we can actually see it functioning, just to fully test that everything is working as intended. As you can see, I decided that melons will be this side over here, the right side from the hallway. And so at the end of the collection system that we'll eventually put in place, we're going to have the auto crafter that turns these back into the melon blocks, which are, of course, what is tradable with the villagers. But from right here, you can pretty much see entirely how this system works. It's just alternating observers facing down and pistons facing down, depending on what block you're doing for melons or pumpkins, since they grow the same. The observer reads the stem, and the piston breaks wherever the full block grows, which is the untilled soil. And we just put redstone dust on top of each observer, and just like that, you're good to go. Now, with farming in Minecraft, especially if it's underground, light is going to become an issue. So the reason that I did the light block above the water right there is because we don't need an observer or a piston, given the only thing that's right there is our water source to keep everything nice and hydrated. I decided any full light block right there, glowstone, shroom light, frog light, doesn't really matter what it is, that will provide enough light to the area so that the crops can grow appropriately, and you can, just place them in the first place. If it's too dark, you can't actually place anything on soil, so that just kind of helps alleviate that and makes it so that you can see a little bit better if you're working in the area. That all being said, down below is where we have to start doing our minecart rails. So I don't think I brought enough powered rails. I'm gonna have to go get a couple more of those before we begin, and I'm gonna run out of redstone before we finish doing all of these modules. But we're gonna go ahead and get this minecart system in place. Before we do that, though, I think I do want to go ahead and do all of the main part of the module. All throughout each side, we're gonna go place the rest of the observers and pistons and redstone dust and seeds, till all the rest of the soil, get all of that set up so that we're ready to move on to the collection system all at once. Alright, so I might have gotten a little bit carried away while I was working on the redstone and the farms, and then all of a sudden I was working on the villagers, and I had them cured, and I rolled them in here. But that does, at the very least, mean that we're all done with the villagers. So this is something that I spent a lot of time working with you guys on stream to try and complete, and it definitely took about as long as I was willing to spend on it, maybe a little bit longer, but that's okay, because at the end of the day, we're gonna need these guys for everything that we do in this world, finally having a little bit of a source of emeralds, and therefore food and all the trades that we need. We finally don't have to worry about it. And the best part of all is that we have a proper use for our train station right here. We of course have the theme where everything we build in this world has some sort of function, some sort of purpose, or at least everything that we need to build with some sort of function or some sort of purpose has its own aesthetic build around it. It's kind of tied into the world in a way that makes sense and kind of fits everything that's nearby. I think we did a pretty good job of that with the villagers, especially with the librarians over in the passenger side of the train station. And then of course, right underneath where I'm standing at the moment, we have the rest of the villagers in the little hidden away basement villager hall. If we come on into the cargo side of the train station and ignore the shulker monster from building all of it, and we head downstairs, I still gotta finalize the lighting. It's just the torches right now, but for the most part, everything is in place, everything's set up. I've got 20 stonemasons all lined up over here with a pretty balanced split of polished andesite, granite, and diorite, as I feel like those will be the most useful trades for us from those guys. And then, of course, I've got the food hallway. Here are all of our farmers. This is how we're going to make our emeralds, and of course, how we're going to feed ourselves. Here is the melon and pumpkin farm, or I guess melon on the right side, pumpkin on the left side. Our big profit machine, essentially. These produce so much just off of the 3 layers alone. I think I mentioned earlier that I might be doing more layers in the future, like I kind of left the room for it. That is absolutely not going to be necessary. This is more than I can keep up with, but that's a good problem to have. We've got the melons being auto-crafted and then output as melons ready to trade, so I don't have to touch them. And then of course we've got all the pumpkins right here, and at some point I think I'm going to start shulker loading these. I'll probably do it manually because I would have no idea how to set up a shulker loader without a tutorial. And of course we're trying not to use any tutorials when it comes to redstoning in the Inspire world, trying to figure it all out on our own and learn as much as we can. After these 2 hallways at the entrance, if you go to the rest of the villager hall over here, we've just got the miscellaneous bunch of villagers. We've got a couple clerics, a bunch of cartographers, some fletchers, some armorers, some tool makers, whatever their official title is. And then behind these 2 walls right here, I've got 2 wheat farms. There's a villager in each managing the little 9x9 plot, farming some wheat, and then a collection system that is, if it's working correctly, collecting all of the wheat, auto-crafting it into hay, separating out the seeds, and then depositing it here in this chest. We've got 3 hay bales at the moment, and I'm going to be using all of these for any mud packing that I need to do, or I guess any other wheat or hay necessities that I might have. But the number one thing that I had in mind was definitely for packing mud, as that's been a big hiccup and a big roadblock up to this point with building most anything in this world, is just the amount of wheat I need and the amount of wheat that I don't have. Hopefully that solves our issue, and this could be our little all-in-one place for all of these different resources we need, all of these grindy things that we can just collect from the villagers or from the automated villager process, and it'll mean a whole lot less work for us above the surface in between builds. When I need to resource collect, I'll just need to get the stuff I can't get down here, but we'll be good. All that being said, now that the villagers are taken care of and the train station actually has the functionality that we meant to hide inside of it, that means we're at a place where we can start to switch our focus to more aesthetic building, getting some more things in here to pretty the world up a little bit and add to one of our 3 areas. As for what next episode entails, well, I was thinking at some point soon, we definitely want to expand the railroad and the hill on the backside. You can even see how the parking lot kind of hangs off into the air on that side of the plateau that we're sitting on right now. And I think alongside expanding the railroad, we of course need a train for this area. Now, I've never built a train in Minecraft before, but I've seen a couple people who have, and trains, when done right in this game, can look really, really cool. So I would love to have my hand at one in the near future. However, when it comes to the next episode, we've got some different plans that came up, as did the Sky. But over in the Twitch stream, we added a new channel point redemption for all of you guys who watch the stream and hang out and collect those over time. And that redeem is to suggest a build idea for the world of Inspire right here. And I only had that redeem for maybe a couple days before somebody redeemed it, so looks like we're already getting some input as to what we should add in the world. As for what that suggestion is, well, I think I might just make you wait until the next episode to find out what it is, but I'll give you a hint. We'll be heading back over to the fantasy part of the world to do a little bit more work over there. Now, this next build that we do over in the fantasy area, it'll be one of the first that we do that doesn't have an express redstone or utility purpose hidden inside or underneath it. We're talking a completely aesthetic, just for the looks, just for the experience build. And I do think that'll be a nice change of pace after doing an episode like this, where it was pretty much the opposite, and we didn't really do any building, just worked with villagers. It was really annoying, and it took way too long to get done. Speaking of how long it took to get done, I want to take a moment real quick at the end of the episode here to inform you guys a little bit about what's been going on and why it's been so long since we got an upload here on the Inspire series. For one, the biggest thing that got in the way was the fact that I've been doing a subathon over on Twitch, and that lasted about 110 days, plus a little bit more for a couple days where I couldn't stream, and then a couple weeks where I was moving in real life. But overall, it took like an entire chunk out of the year, and it ended up being way longer than I anticipated. During that time, I got a little burnt out on Minecraft just from doing a ton of it all at once without slowing down, and that meant that I kind of fried the creative side of my brain just a little bit and needed to take a step back before I came back here, because of course everything we do in this world needs to get the time and attention and love that I think it deserves. Not only that, but I think starting in the next episode, you're going to start to see a new look from what you've been used to here in this series in terms of how I look walking around. And I think that might change a little bit more frequently. I've put the feeler out there for any of you guys who like making skins to do up a skin in your free time if you'd like and submit it, and I can use it kind of as a fun little piece of fan art where I can swap around different skins from time to time, especially over on the stream. I think here on the Inspire videos, we'll probably try and keep it somewhat consistent, maybe a little bit more than over there, but just a fun little detail that I knew a couple of you guys at least would have some fun doing. With all that said, we're back on schedule. The ball is rolling again, and the next episode should come out with a normal gap somewhere between a week and 10 days or something around that, depending on how big this next build is over the fantasy area. Who knows? I've got some big ideas for it, and it could get out of control, but hopefully we keep it self-contained in one single episode. And now that you're fully caught up on everything, I hope you guys enjoyed this crazy episode that took way too long for it to release. We got the villagers done. Hopefully you got a little inspired by something, but next time we're out here, I can't wait because we'll be getting back into the big swing of things, doing some creative things, doing some fun builds, and I cannot wait. Of course, thank you to everyone who supports the content over on Patreon. It's thanks to you guys I can do this. And as always, I will see you guys in the next episode.